Okay. So, well, and we have got our research facility, which is well established now. And I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
yes.
There is some cloud thing is coming on the middle. So,
Your
okay.
meeting
So,
is now streaming on YouTube. Okay.
oh, okay. That's the reason. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have got a good research facility now. In the past 2 years since I've joined Acharya Group, we have established an R&D directorate. And in R&D directorate, we have it actually caters to the needs of all the institutions put together. It's not one institution. For all the institutions, it is like a melting pot. Everybody comes around there, and we started interdisciplinary research now. Uh, that's going good. And pharmacy college does a lot of good research as well, in addition to engineering. Mostly these two institutions do a lot of research, and others are in social sciences, of course. Of late, we have started working on a transdisciplinary research, bringing in the arts people with life science and to engineering. The beauty of this campus is, since we have got so many disciplines, colleges, so we have a network within the campus itself. So that's a nice thing to see
Wow.
in this campus.
విసర్లే ఓ
Okay. Now, impact of the pandemic on the med tech, right? So this is where we have certain challenges, what we have seen. Now, if you look at the pharma and the medtech, the way the number of collaborations that happened all this time has been very, 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 very different. But now everything has started falling down. Look at the number of mergers which have happened. M&A is a merger and acquisitions. In the last year, this is very recent data, end of July, and I see that there are hardly 57 M&As have happened. The entire curve is fallen down. The reason is not to be panicking that everything is fallen down and we are nowhere to go, but there are an impact. There is an impact on the our GDP as well. Now you will notice even the countries like US has gone down. India is that way. It is not significantly gone down, but we are in the path to going down quite fast because of one major reason, that is uh, the distribution of manpower, the technology, and the limited understanding we had of the pandemic, how it would explode and how we handled it. You must have heard already lecture on COVID altogether from some of the speakers. To tell you in brief, the disease is very different than the infection. We need to understand, as pharmacy background people, that don't confuse everything is one. A lot of people say he's COVID positive. He's not COVID positive. He is positive for the coronavirus. He's not positive for the disease. Disease may or may not manifest in an individual, right? So it may be there in the body, but it could come like any other common cold and go away from all of us, most of us. But in few people, it impacts significantly due to a lot of predisposing conditions. Uh, so to say, 98% of Indians are not sick, but we would have got the infection. Of the 98%, I am sure at least 25% of us have already acquired the disease, I mean, the infection, and we have passed on. So when we confuse the disease and the infection, the panic increases. Oh, COVID positive, every numbers are increasing and everybody's panicking. Look at the number of people who are recovered, who have gone back safe. How many people have died so far in the population of 1.3 billion, right? It is less than 0.001% people have undergone and have yielded to the disease into mortality. Most of them have morbid condition are there, of course, post infection. A lot of people are complaining because the disease itself is quite damaging the way the disease progresses. So when we confuse these two things, the economists and the people in the administration who may not have the complete detailed understanding of things will make decisions based on what a developed country is making, what the WHO is telling. But we use very little of our own thought process, which we have started bringing now. Of course, that's the reason, Karnataka is opening up, Bangalore. Though we have so many containment centers, we are opening up. It is very important to open up and allow the youngsters to move around so that most of us would have the virus and have the antibodies so that herd immunity builds in. before the vaccine comes into play, because somewhere we need to find a defense mechanism. We have no choice but to have a herd immunity at this point in time till the vaccine is launched and reaching the every person. I did read in the news item that they want to. There is an announcement that 15th August we are going to have the vaccine ready, Covaxin. That beats my knowledge. I can't imagine a clinical trial in 1 month, 1.5 months. We are able to discover and finish a clinical trial and launch a product. I mean, I worked at the FDA in the US and worked in vaccines. CBER, Center for Biologics Evaluation Research. CBER is where I have worked. 1.5 months is like overwhelming for me to accept. But if they do, I'll be glad to see that. I wish we do that, but scientifically it is not possible because there is a path, the kind of evaluations one has to do for safety and efficacy of a vaccine are a little complex. It's all going to take time. So we have to take a balanced view as scientists and as informed people. And though, of course, for whatever reason, the news media, the political media, they have to do what they got to do. But as scientists, you and I have to be very cautious, especially people of your background coming from the pharmacy college have to should be more deeply concerned about these kind of news and should be able to educate people and keep them calm. So okay? I tell, it is a political vaccine being launched politically because it is necessary to keep people calm when the hope of getting a vaccine itself will boost us boost confidence in a lot of people. That is a good thing what they're doing to telling them, but by the time they get the vaccine to the board to the people most of would have been away from the disease. We don't need a vaccine, we would have recovered by the time, but we have to announce and keep people calm and hopeful. These are all the allied technologies we use in counseling patients, right? So look at the recession itself. Now there is major recession. That's why research has been impacted. If you look at the bottom line, we have had recessions all throughout, right? Uh, Let me take a pointer out here. Okay, so you see here we have got all kinds of recessions, but every time you see there is a boom back. We have always come back into the system, right? It is not that any recession is the end of the world, like some people predicted 2020. Sometimes I think last December the world was supposed to end somewhere on this in December 20th or 19th something. Uh, People are thinking, okay, world is going to end. World has been ending since the time I've been born and hearing this news. World is going to end, and it never ends. It's a living entity by itself. It has its own ecosystem to survive. Economy itself also is its own ecosystem. It is something which may not have a life, the breath, the way we have, but it has its own life collectively as human beings. So research is something which is never going to be impacted for good. In fact, recessions and times like this, pandemics are a time when we get more and more focus, especially people of your expertise. Okay, so now look at this. Already from the January benchmark, if you see, we have the pharma has come back. It's already moving ahead, right? It's already moving ahead. And look at the tech industry, even that is coming back. And retail also is coming back. This graph that the next slide is going to show you. Now, in all of them, there is a fall, right? But retails have started, automotive has come back. That's very interesting. The automotive, which people would have thought, was not going to come up, has come back quite well, right? And you see, construction has come down, of course, a lot of industries, but let us focus on the medical, right? It is improved pretty well. So people from pharma background need not be too worried. And we cannot say that our research has been impacted badly. Actually, the pandemic has infused a stimulus in all of us to do better research. How to do research in high intensity of time pressure. Nowhere, I think, in the history of at least my existence and whatever I have read through, people have had such a pressure from the world to invent, to discover. I think this is the first time we have had, and that's a beautiful and a lovely opportunity for all of us as people of pharmacy background to have embraced this pandemic, to bring out something that is going to benefit man. Technology is one more thing which has gone beyond the benchmark line. So, and you look at the disruption, look at the infections or the diseases in which there is 100% disruption. You have GI. If you look at the GI, the inflammation, the respiratory, they are all the comorbidity areas of the infection of coronavirus. So, in fact, ID has taken a major jump in the research area. So these are the major, and the way the market has reacted is very different. I think even a common man is able to speak of a lot of terms which you would have never imagined they would speak. They understand now what there is something called vaccine. There is a virus is different from a bacteria. What is hand hygiene? And I'm glad we brought in this practice of usage of masks and hand hygiene. Of course, not totally agree with that to a certain extent. Hand hygiene, we have to be doing it in a balanced way, not to a paranoid way, because we are going to impact our gut microbiota, which is another danger we are entering into. We have to have a balanced soap wash. Hand wash with soap is all necessary, not using too much of sanitizers. But the masking, if you see, last year itself, we have had about how much around, I think, 3.5 million deaths due to tuberculosis. 350,000 people died due to tuberculosis. I'm sorry, 435,000. Yeah, 435,000 people in India alone have died due to tuberculosis. The tuberculosis is another disease which spreads very rampantly from person to person. So now, in the name of the COVID, right? And we knowing though this airborneness of coronavirus is in a closed room, not in the air as tuberculosis can spread, that is more contagious than coronavirus. But in the name of coronavirus, when COVID, when we are masking ourselves, we are also preventing the spread of tuberculosis now. And I'm sure our vision to bring down to zero TB cases by 2025 will be achieved. It is dual approach we are doing, and I'm happy with that, what's happening with the way we are masking ourselves. Now, talk to people about in the scientific community. So many people have saying their work has been impacted by the pandemic, but the work from home has increased, and we have found new ways of working, new ways of functioning. Earlier, we thought, by this time, I must have traveled at least 3 times to Europe from January to June, but I gone only once after the pandemic started, and I'm able to do what I would have done going there, just sitting here. So, which means we have found new ways of functioning. Today, I'm working from home, but I'm presenting to you all, sharing the knowledge, whatever I have gathered around. So this is a new way of learning we have acquired, right? And also, when people have time, this is the beautiful time. This 45% people should increase to more than 95% people among the researchers, because a great time for us to keep surfing, looking for new knowledge, new information. And also, most of the publications have made it free now, access. So you can access full articles very smoothly. You can write publications, review articles, do some grant writing. This is the best time for you all to do that. And there are people, right? There are people who are, of course, as I mentioned myself, going out and spending too many attending events, everything is gone down now. But collaborations is what something has increased. Earlier, the rate was much lower. Now, collaborative research is increasing significantly. Yeah. And many people have changed this I'm presenting here because many of your students, now you know to think little differently in the way you are going to do your or pursue your career. It is not necessarily doing only what you have learned, but learning adjacent knowledge, adjacent technologies, so that you can be well equipped in more than one field. So using the basis as, of course, pharma, you need to have the adjacencies also. And that's what one more opportunity you're going to get here. So what are the good things? There is proliferation of innovative ideas, especially if you look at robotic technologies. In fact, in the last 3 months, we have launched one product in Sweden, which is called Swasthya, handheld device for people in distress. And it was such a high-speed research and trial was done. So it is possible we are trying to do new things. And the varieties of sanitizer, everybody is going to, sanitizers now. They mix methanol. So there has to be control systems there. It is very wrong what's happening. Anything will get diluted very fast. When we have so many people who have lost jobs, they need to find ways of survival. They start doing these things. So we need to have some check on that part, of course. And mask industry has is just grown exponentially around the world. I think tissue papers, sanitizer dispensers, and masks have been the biggest industry in the past couple of months. Social innovations, India, our homemade systems of building immunity, and also contributing towards the societal needs have also increased. People have found innovative ways to help the people who have been impacted, right? Well, I'll not go much into this. One point I would like to make is now lab work and wet lab have been suspended in most institutions. This is where most of you and I would feel the pinch when there's a lockdown, when there's a restriction, especially the ironic way of stating that essential services opened up, but not educational institutions. That sounds little, it doesn't make sense to me because I feel education is most essential. But the way they're saying it as not essential is to prevent the spread of the disease rather than saying it is non-essential. So I just made a joke there. Just to make sure that I am not saying it is good to go back to school and start crowding too much, because in the US they reported, I think, 97% kids, or 92 97,000 kids got infected with the virus as they opened the schools. So this spreads, the infectivity rate is very, very low. In the sense, it doesn't require a high infective dose to cause the infection. It requires very low concentration to cause the infection. So that's the reason it is spreading fast. Now, post COVID, what are the areas where you can start working? Vaccine, you may say a vaccine, once it has come, what do you do? What I would recommend is look at those conserved parts of this family of viruses which cause respiratory infections, so that before the next pandemic, which is going to come, of course, we are way ahead of the game, preparing for the various types of identifying the potential candidate vaccines and keep them in the battery. So when a pandemic comes, we just jumpstart. I'm sure you all remember the primary and secondary immune response, right? When the first time a body encounters a microbe, the APCs, the antigen processing cells, will take that, process it, present it to the cells, and the B cell analyzes, divides into memory cells and the plasma cells, and the plasma cell starts producing the antibodies. They say it has taken 1x time to do this. When the same microbe comes second time, the memory cells directly start producing the antibodies, because there's a major step lost, is avoided, and you start killing the microbes. Similar is vaccine development. Let us identify several candidates, targets, and the processes to make these vaccines. This is where an opportunity lies. Then, of course, treatment, healthcare equipment, these are all the other things which come into play. But finding candidates for vaccines is very important, because viral pandemics are going to be very frequent going forward. Because of a lifestyle, the pressure we have created on the microbial world, they are going to jump species, jump in between species, jump to and between and from reverse. So this is becoming more complex. So let us be more prepared for and that's where all of you have got opportunities. So identify your priorities, basic and applied, based on the industry demand. What is significant? Many things we can do, but can we do it in our own institution? And is the institution's vision aligned with your ideas? Think of all these things, right? And transdisciplinary is going to be, is very common of late. Now it's going to be, a computer scientist talks about microbial world today, right? He talks about pharmacy. There are companies in Manyata Tech Park, life science companies, and you don't see a single life scientist. It's all computer science people working for in a life science company. Yeah. Then have objectives. What you have to grow your capability and also your capacity to migrate between the disciplines. Okay. And when you're learning and when you're teaching, integrate research as an integral part of your game. Don't keep it separately. Then what happens when situations like this come up? You have already a thought process going ahead of time, and these should be aligned with the societal needs and responsibilities. And you have to, the institution also have to allocate appropriate resources necessary, right? And within the institution and outside the institution, with your collaborate, start establishing clusters. I think with Alamin, we have formed a small cluster of, about 5 pharma colleges. I'm not sure we have taken it off yet, but that initiation has been started now. So these clusters are very, very, very important for us. The purpose of all this is to aim for each individual, each institution, and as a cluster, we can aim at global leadership. Global leadership means it is not one person leadership. There's a misconception. We always think there's only one leader. No. In today's world, with distributed manufacturing, distributed procurement structures, there could be multiple leaders. So we can also be, as a team, as individual, be one of the leaders in that one. Provide world-class training. Okay, those are all minor things I listed here just for you to have a glance of things. Now, I would like to draw your attention towards the technology which will change how we are going to create and innovate and compete. When I say it is going to be mutual competition, which is a healthy one, not to beat somebody, but to excel within ourselves to go to the next orbit. Always keep drawing energy from your past experiences, keep jumping to the next orbit. That's how we can release more energy, right? To and bring in, look at the atomic cycle, how it happens and how the compounds are formed, everything you form, the medicinal chemistry guys and chemistry back pharmaceutical chemistry guys would understand it much better, right? So we need to be thinking ourselves like those molecules all the time. Then when you're picking up an area for yourselves, my strong recommendation is look at the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals. Now there are 17 goals in this, and you figure out you have got opportunity in all of the 17 elements. You can pick and see how your ideas can be fit into which of this element. Why I say that is because based on this is what Government of India has come up with Vision 2035 document, in which it represents 13 of this document, goals. When we look at these two things and we start planning, when sustainability is the goal, global and as a nation, your chances of getting funding for your research will be very high, because based on these two things, the global fund as well as our Indian government funds have been aligned. And for you to get your grants easily, focus on these two areas, then your likelihood of getting your funding for your grants is very high. So please look up these two things. It is Vision 2035 on the right side and the UN SDGs. Very important for you guys. See, now look at this self-reliant India, what we have done. Look at all these elements. You can find this information online. Consider in what all areas you've got so much of opportunities. What can you bring to the table? Pick up one of the educational reforms or health reforms. There are policy requirements, right? How can I contribute as a pharmacologist or pharmacist to a rural economy? In many ways. Your supply chain, the way the drug dispensation, and the way you can do counseling. There's so many ways, or into the manufacturing, innovating new ways of producing the generics, right? Discovery, every aspect we can start. These are all the various things Aatma-Nirbhar has been taken up as self-reliant India. So I think we need to think of these elements as well. And now the major thing, we started importing from China to make in India. All those products we want to make in India. There is again another opportunity. See, government, when it is doing, now each and every one of us sitting here have a great entrepreneurial opportunity. For one product, it's not only one person who can make these things. You can be one of those guys who can manufacture those things. Think as don't aim to become an employee. Try to be an employer and create employment. Think in those lines, you can do more, because this is the one you are all, a lot of people I see, 2020 is, it becomes like a curse word in the future. But I say, no, it will not going to be. It is an opportunity world, especially people from our kind of background, where we can see, convert this pandemic into an opportunity. Pandemic has caused a lot of economic losses and everything due to various reasons, not only due to the virus, not only due to pandemic, but due to the time we needed to understand the disease, we lost a lot. Right now, we are able to handle pretty well. I think things are under control. Everything is opening up. We are getting back to normalcy. I still, I always stated, I mean, yesterday I went to Outer Ring Road, total traffic jam. People are, but one beauty I see, everybody has masked themselves. 99% of them. Some people do follow, you know, and do not want to follow certain rules. But if most of us follow it, we are good to go. So you have great opportunity in every of these elements. Now, to get an idea, I put this cycle. You look at the economy, how do I contribute to the economy, the technology, the customers, the competitors, mavericks, government regulations. You got great opportunity there. Distribution channels, managing things, employee side, how you can better off your management, alarming management itself, the employees, supplies, everywhere. There is a rapidly changing environment around, and that is where we have great opportunity. And a government institution such as BIRAC has given these four channels from which you can get enough grants. You can write to these people under these several subheadings, and likelihood of you all getting grant money is very high. So post COVID, things are looking brighter rather. Yeah. Now, just take a look at this particular graph. What has reduced? All these industries have fallen down. What I put below the line. And what you see on the top have all increased, right? The fast growing e-commerce product. Look at so many places. You can all contribute in these things. You can all develop in these things. So everything is an opportunity here for us due to, and you can think this and think as an innovator to find breakthroughs, disruptions. Yeah. One important aspect you need to remember is the way the industrial revolution has taken place. The industry 4.0 is the biggest one, right? Where we brought in higher technology and improved ourselves and gone to the next orbit. So, but 5.0 is where we are heading, which allows customers to customize what they want. This customization is the keyword. Take a look at this. In 4.0, relied mainly on smart manufacturing, smart factories, dark factories, which means you don't have to use a lot of, that is green approach. Then industrial internet IoTs. Now from here in industry 5.0, the focus is on delivering the customer experience. Even as students in our institutions, we need to create centers of excellence for experience. We experiencing laboratories where they come and do the prototypes, experience things, right? Hyper customization, responsive and distributed supply chain, how the things are moved from one to another one, right? So this is where again we get more and more. The precision medicine is what going to be the future, and we have got great opportunity there. This is an old philosophy up to here, and then from here we started going back to the computers. This is what we had seen a few years ago, but now with industry 5.0, it's going to be, we are not going to bend down, we are going to walk straight. So pretty much rest in peace natural selection, because our lifespan has increased significantly by bringing into the robotics in our life. The robotics, when I say, it is not only robots doing this thing, it is bringing the bionics in our bodies. The kind of organs which get affected can be supported by robotics. See, this lady or this girl, if she hadn't worn a shorter skirt, if she worn a longer skirt, you would never see that she was having an artificial limb. She would walk normal, she would behave normal. But we would have thought, oh, she's totally normal. But this is the actual situation for her. She lost her leg. So because she has good gait now, her confidence increases, her psychological status improves, everything changes for her. So these are the disruptions which are coming. The arm and the leg, the one who lost it, have been restored. Robotic arms. Now these are for people who have lost things and have been restored. But where technology is going is now one more level is empowered limbs. You got a normal strength, you wear this, you become Iron Man, Superman, right? We get more strength. With this, robotic arm, I'll be able to lift a car maybe. With my own strength, I cannot, but with this robotic arm, I'll be able to do things much better than what I'm able to do. This is where technology has moved. And in all these things, when you develop a technological arm, a robotic arm such as this, don't you think you all have an opportunity there? How does the physiology work? How does what kind of stimulants are required? What kind of pacifiers are required here? How much dosage has to be done? In all these levels, the pharmacologists and pharmacists do get involved in this. Yeah. So the era is changing from here to here. This is the future. Yeah. These are some of the companies which have already gone way ahead and have taken up AI as have integrated this 2018 data in 4 years. How fast most of the companies have moved forward. If I look at 2020 data, I think the scale, I may have to start from somewhere here because everything has moved across all these lines. And where all you got your opportunities? You got your opportunities at the peer level, at farmer level, and at the provider level. In all these elements, be it manufacturing, marketing, in your data analysis, pharmacovigilance, in every aspect, because health sector is the going to be the dominant one because everything is patient centric. That not just a patient centric, I call them an empowered patient centric. Patients are knowledgeable organisms such as a microbe has done so much of changes to us. So you need to understand the difference. What is invention? What is innovation? Invention is this. First time they found something circular which can roll. That is an invention. Innovation, converting that into multiple ways. So when you look at any challenge, what has happened so far, you look at those challenges and see what is existing, how I can innovate to make it much better, much adaptable, much being patient centric and patient specific. That is what you got to look at. Customization of medicines. So you look at how to bring in creativity. For all these things, this is a major ingredient, your creativity. We are all tied up with so much of fastness, exams, so this accreditation, that papers, everywhere we are done. So which is, we need to take a pause because now we have more time compared to previously. So refresh your creativity. Okay. When you refresh your creativity, what builds up and strengthens is your scientific temper. Asking the 5 Ws. They call it 5 wives and 1 husband as a mnemonic. But it is what, why, when, which, and where, and how we are going to do this. These are the 5 senses of scientific temper, because you have to remember when you're doing, if you have a good scientific temper, then you will know to accept that all questions may not be fully answerable. We say when you're designing a project, we want to answer all the questions. No, when you have a right scientific temper, you will be able to know what is your boundary, because a discovery and science is always like a horizon. There's never a full stop. It's always a comma. Today I find something, it's still a comma, never a full stop. When you put a full stop, you're gone. So it's always a comma in a scientific research. So the scientific sense mindset enables us to be more curious, logical ability, and objectivity. Very important, objectivity. Because let us not drive things through our subjective mind. So I took an example to understand, for you to think differently. Now, if you think, where am I? You will see this picture. I'm in this body. So you start breaking down, you see this, you say, okay, this is what I am. I'm made out of this bones, flesh, neural system, everything, and I have this body. But what is this made up of? It's made up of variety of cells, right? And how much does these variety of cells contribute to, right? If you start looking at it, the major part of the body is compromised. The major part of a body is comprised of these cells, right? All these cells we're talking about. But what is the major part of the body which is comprised of? It is not the human cells, it's the microbial cells. For those who know about it, you may be smiling. But those who did not know, you would see, wow. You definitely say, wow, because by the number of cells, the microbes are more in our body, an invisible organ, compared to our human cells, which are bigger in size, and they constitute this visible structure of ourselves. The reason I put this slide is for you to know to think differently, to facilitate you to think differently. We always think where I am, this is where I am. You start breaking down organ by organ and part by part and tissues, everything is gone, then where do you exist? You do exist somewhere beyond this. So this, so when we say I, me, my idea, my thoughts, my patent, my journal, my publication, this my mostly belongs to the microbes. On a lighter note, yeah. So remember always, microbes are larger in human beings than we ourselves. In number, they outweigh our number. So I'm coming to the close of a few more slides. If you're bored, stretch a bit wherever sitting, because sitting, Zoom fatigue, I call it off late, because sitting in front of the camera, you feel a little fatigued. Your cameras are off, so you can shake yourselves a bit. In a research, these elements are very important when you write your projects for the government and the reviewers to accept. Aim and objectives. People write aims and objectives. How can you have multiple aims for a research? Your aim should be one. That is where you want to be or what you want to do. And objectives are how we are going to do. What are the steps you are going to do to achieve that aim? When you write a grant such as this, the likelihood of getting is the reviewer is look at it a little favorably. Material methods, the study design, these are very important. And how you collate your information, study design, your sample size, very important. Then how you discussion analysis. I'll tell you, a lot of people say PhD. Nowadays, people can purchase PhDs. And it's a shame, because PhD, in simple words, is acquiring an analytical mind by conducting one project from ideation to completion. That's all it is. So it is in the section of this discussion and analysis where, and interpretation is where your brain is really functional. Rest all is mechanical. But here is where how you interpret the data. There you must be 100% objective. Don't be biased to, no, I made this aim, I have to prove that aim. You lost it. That's when research, the credentials and the quality of research starts falling down. So don't focus too much on that aspect, but rather focus on what you have seen, what does the data speak, what does it make sense to me, to the scientific community. Likelihood of a paper getting published in a peer-reviewed journal is high, right? Okay. So it is the same things what I put up here. What the reviewers look for is, right? Then final is this point. Very important points. Yeah. And we have government agencies which are able to help us fund. In so many ways, we have got funding. The Karnataka government, the central government, we've got enough funding opportunities, not only here, but also abroad. We have to use those funding. In the slide I put on BIRAC, if you go to the BIRAC website, you will see funds from Wellcome Trust. There's so many agencies have been listed. Please apply to those grants and procure those funds, and remember to collaborate and work. And many of us say, I got a patentable idea. Now, because a patent is worth 3 publications, or leading publications, so everybody wants to patent it. But patenting, one has to be very, very careful, because you are doing either justice or total injustice. I think injustice because once you patent it, and if you're incapable of doing anything with that patent, you have killed a major breakthrough into a book. So I put a decision tree which will help you to think through how to choose when to patent and when to publish. So when you have patentable idea, you think of, is there a public disclosure necessary? If yes, then think of, will there be any revenues? Right? Can I get revenues? When I say IP fee is not one-time fee. To maintain a patent, every year you will have to pay money. It is not applying patent. First year I got the patent and the patent died. So if you do not maintain a patent, what happens is the next guy or girl who comes, a researcher comes in, does a discovery activity, will not be able to patent, because your patent becomes a prior art there. So you should be very, very careful when you're patenting. If there is revenue potential, then what do? You patent it. because you can translate that now. You can out-license to somebody. If not, then you publish it. There is no revenue potential for it. It's only adding knowledge to the database. So the people can learn from what I have done and what I did right and what I did wrong. And, you know, they don't have to repeat the same thing. And don't be under the impression that negative results cannot be published. I have published one paper, right, which is totally negative results. The hypothesis stated one. We conducted the entire research. It all failed. And I published that in a peer-reviewed journal. Negative results are also very important because that is the major revenue saving model. Because when you publish what not to be done, then the other person who is going to, he's not going to repeat the same mistakes what you've done. So do publish your negative results also. The journals will accept that. And if the public disclosure is not necessary, then you check out, is it easily discoverable? The evaluation chart. If you think yes, then come back to this path. If you think it's a no, then you check out, is it a new area of technology? If it is a new area of technology, if it is not, then you publish it. If it is, then you look at its licensing opportunity. This is what I mentioned. Licensing opportunities, say as researchers, as academicians, you and I may not be having that capability to take a patentable idea or a patent to a drug in the market. Not only that, even industries cannot be doing, right? So in that case, we must out-license it. To give an example, not an example, a fact is this molecule N-metazobactam, which I co-invented in Orchid Pharma. This is the only molecule in anti-infective space which has completed phase 3 clinical trials, and ready to become a drug in the market. And that is 100% discovered in India. And this is the first molecule. And I'm proud to be its co-inventor. Now, how did we reach the target? We did not keep it in the shelf. We took a round to showcase to people the potential this molecule had. Because even as a pharma company in India, we did not have enough money to take it to the clinics. So we partnered with a company called as Acharya Therapeutics, who did the clinical trials for us, right? And we are a stakeholder in Acharya Therapeutics, and the revenues are going to come to the company now. Not me, of course. As inventors, we write off for $1 to the company. Company is going to make money now. For us, we have patent. We claim out. Scientists, we say, oh, I got so many patents, but it doesn't pay you. But in an academia, if you do that, you can, because when I work for a pharma, I was hired to discover, right? So they paid my salary, so my job is done. I'm like a human machine. I'm out of it now. But you and I, now I'm in an academia, so I say you and I, in an academia, if we do this discovery, and if it has licensing opportunity, then please patent it. And then we can out-license it, and then you can have revenues long term. If not, publish it and close it. So my final slide. God is free from religion. People build religion around God. Earth is free from national boundaries. Man put the boundaries, but microbes are free from people's identities. It doesn't know whether you are a scientist, you are driving a car, or whether you're flying a plane, or you are a president of a country. It doesn't care. For everybody, it is a Homo sapiens. I am a coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. I like Homo sapiens. That's all it knows. Yeah. With this, I say thanks to you all. I'll be open to questions now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Manish Paul, sir, for such an informative and innovative lecture topic. A lot of thank you to you. I would request all the participants to pour in their questions in the chat box. One more request, all participants kindly fill in the feedback form before you are leaving the meeting. I would like to request Dr. Vidya Alias to take over the session for the question answer interactive session and the summarization of today's lecture. Over to you, Dr. Vidya.
Thank you, Tanushree. We'll move on to the question section. There are a few questions. The first question from Suprata. Sir, her question is, hello, sir, 12 months time will be given to a provisional patent application to file a complete application. Can this time be extended?
No. The reason is, see, before if always you delay the patenting, there is a general urgency in most of us that I want to patent it as fast as possible. Don't do that. There is a collaborative project I work with US Merck, mock US, and we started the project in 2008. Do you know when we filed for patent? 2017. The reason is, don't be afraid that somebody's going to steal the idea, because there are very few people have thought of and converted that idea into some, translatable prototype. So you start doing it and apply for patent as later as possible. The 1 year is given for you in case you have got something else to add to prove certain claims you have made in that one. So it need not be a phase where you want to do new research. Try to finish as much as possible before you file for patent.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, probably might be from a student by looking at the question. We want
Vidya,
to do research.
sorry to interrupt you. You just read the questions to me.
Yes, we want to do research. How do we start? Where do we gather correct information from? How to go about it?
Oh my God. I think you have to review my presentation again, because I did give you some ideas. One slide, I put a wheel and a spoke model. You got so many from economy, from your patients, from your clinics, from your pharmacy stores, suppliers, manufacturers. These are all the various areas. Those are the areas where you get an idea. Once you get an idea is what? The gap. You're looking at the gap. What is... So, for example, you go to a store and you see he's just giving, you ask azithromycin, he gives it to you. There is a challenge there. That means he's not supposed to give it. So how do I fix that problem? So the pharmacist is not going to dispense an antibiotic without a prescription. You can find a solution there. And you go there and you see some stocks are not well maintained. Practical example. Like this, in every area, you can think of ideas where you see there are gaps, right? You find those gaps and then you try to address. That's where ideas come from. And the entire cycle I showed you, that the research cycle, aims, methods, your results, discussion, interpretation, conclusions.
Fine. Yeah, sir. The next question, what type of project work will be good to start after this pandemic?
Finding new vaccine candidates is a brilliant thing. And supply chain and distribution. See, imagine now, there are so many people working on vaccines, right, in this pandemic. Now, do you think all these vaccine candidates are going to be used? No, only a couple of them are going to be used. So when a couple of them are going to be used, how are you going to maintain the cold chain, the last mile connectivity? How much is the production requirements are going to be? The demand. Now, US has already booked, I think, 1 billion doses from us already, from India. How does the supply happen? You get the point. So this is one aspect. But as I mentioned earlier, there is going to be yet another pandemic and yet another pandemic. It is going to be a cycle going forward because of our lifestyle modifications we have made and the pressure we have put on the natural ecosystem. We have ignored the fact of one health. We are all interdependent on the plant life and the animal life, and together it's a cycle. Since we've ignored it and used it for our own benefits, the challenges are going to be creating more and more pandemics. So if you do literature survey and see which are the species of viruses, which are the genera of viruses that are likely to start spreading, in those you try to find candidates for vaccines in the future. That's one good area I can recommend, in addition to the supply things what I mentioned.
Yeah. Thanks, sir. The next question is, I have read about COVID diagnosis by Voice. Can you tell about that?
What is that?
How to diagnose by using Voice, Voice. Can you talk about it?
Voice. I don't know what is Voice.
Yeah.
AI voice. Voice.
AI, I think it is artificial intelligence.
AI voice.
Artificial intelligence.
AI,
Okay.
artificial intelligence.
Through voice, I am not sure of it. See,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in a pandemic, there is a likelihood that if you see, the virus can go to multiple organs, right? The virus can go to multiple organs. So maybe what that machine could be doing, whatever you're talking about, could be doing is on entering into when it impacts the vocal cords, right? Maybe that's the reason how they can find out. I'm not sure of it at this point. But I'll show you one slide for you to see if that makes sense. 1 second. Now take a look at this slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So this virus, when it infects, it can cause CNS infection, and it can cause eyes, infection of the eyes, conjunctivitis inflammation. It can cause loss of smell, right? Then it can cause heart and blood, right? It can cause liver disease, kidney disease, and intestinal disease. So when it is affecting your loss of sense, smell, and taste, right? And of course, there is going to be change in your voice due to the disease you're having. Maybe AI is able to do the math behind it and try to diagnose. And I have not answered your question, of course, but I try to give you a thought of what the answer could be. But I'm not sure of it. That technology, I haven't read it.
Yes. So the next question. My question is that there are many dosage forms available to us, not only vaccines. And from past vaccine review, it has been seen that it contains many adverse effects. Example being infertility.
Okay. So what's the question?
He have framed as like this. My question is that there are many dosage forms available to us. Why not only vaccines? And vaccines have many adverse effects.
Yes,
So
that's the
probably,
reason we are doing the trial. That is the reason why the trial is being taken care of, right? Adverse events. So you always may, the cost benefit ratio you're going to check, right? And you are going to see what weighs how much. When for an patient with cancer, the survival versus side effects, you got to weigh benefit and risk ratio, and then you take a call. So if saving a patient becomes a priority over having one a morbid outcome, people will still, the option is given to the patient to choose at it. Are you willing to live with this morbidity post dosage? And that is given. But before a vaccine comes to the market, all these things will be closed, because in the pandemic, I don't think we need to allow, like for in cancer, making a choice. We should be able to get a safe vaccine. Do you think polio has a polio vaccine, meningitis vaccine, HIV, I mean, Haemophilus influenza B vaccine, pneumococcal vaccine have got any of these side effects? No. So we don't have to have side effects in a vaccine. But if they are there in a race for time, if people are willing to go for it, they are being given an option. Otherwise, for a common man's vaccine, no side effects are allowed of such kind.
thanks, sir. The next question is, sir, can you show some light on scope of research field for students aspiring to look into it? Example on CSIR or ICMR?
Yeah, just log into the website. There are so many grants available for students. Plenty. Right? Plenty of grants are available for students now. Especially, but I'm not sure at undergrad level there are so much of money is given. But if you have an innovation idea, right, there is an innovation club, indiainnovates.org. So if you go there, you will find various options where you can go and apply for grants of your undergrad ideas as well.
So the next question is, as a fresher of either a PharmD or a course of B Pharm, to enter into the clinical research company, how can we be prepared in this pandemic situation?
Get more and more courses in the science which is not of your own. In the sense, other than pharmacy, try to equip yourself in the adjacent courses. So you always are better than somebody else who is competing with you. Now, somebody asked about AI. Do a course on data science. Learn Python, which is used so extensively. And if you, as I mentioned in an example, Manita Tech Park, all you see is IT guys working in a life science company. So if you have a life science background and also having this IT knowledge, then you are the most preferred person there, right? Yeah.
Yes. So the next question is, what would be the good practical skill sets students can focus and work on to improve our research abilities that will help in future and that can be applied to such pandemic situations?
Practice
Skills,
mindful, sorry?
practical skills they have
No,
asked.
no, yeah, what I'm going to tell is practice mindfulness of your scientific temper. Do it make sense? As long as you are mindfully practicing your scientific temper, you have no boundaries at all. Opportunities galore everywhere for you because you are able to rationally think and you are able to rationalize everything that comes along and make decisions which are scientific and which are practicable. So that is the only skill you need. See, people have all been thinking is my hands, what experiment I'll do, how I'll do, what data I will get. That is all testing. It's only 5% of your research. 95% of the research happens here. Why 95, 99% is here. Only 1% is translation of it. If you do not have scientific temper, you can never think like a scientist. You'll be like a technician who is just doing a job, who's paid to do manual skills. That's it. You can never do more than that. And your scope of your career is going to be just flat like this. It'll never be going exponential like this. So you should always focus on exponential career growth. For that, most important. Okay.
Sir, there are many questions, many people on a same question. Why all the COVID patients are facing heart-related problems? Is there any particular reason?
You saw my previous slide I presented just now. That is the reason. You know, where do the virus go and bind? Right? The ACE receptor. Right? That is present in multiple organs. Once it breaks the barrier of the in the alveoli, once it breaks the barrier, here boom, right? You take it. Okay, I will. I've been doing it's the second presentation almost for you guys. That means take a look at this. This is the viral genetic material, right? Now what happens? This virus, I'm just showing the composition. It has got a protein shell and it has got a envelope. It has got protein. See, I have crossed the time limit. Just give me one moment. One moment.
Participants, please be patient. Sir will be back in a moment.
Okay. This is the protein spikes. Okay. These protein spikes, they're all composed. From where do they come from? Right. Now, this is the virus. Now, when you look at the human body, we have got our respiratory tract, the trachea, the bronchi, the bronchioles. Then you come to the alveoli. Now, this is the action point. This is where all the action is happening. What happens? You got capillary network, and that is where your blood oxygen levels, your carbon dioxide exchange, gas exchange, everything happens at this point. Now, in this case, when we have the breach of this capillary network, when the virus enters in, that is going to breach it, right? Once it breaches it, it is going to enter in and start replicating and coming out. So that is the time when it starts making a lot of proteinaceous liquid and collapses the alveoli. Now, when there is decreased oxygen levels in the circulation, the major organ which needs enough oxygen, right, that itself is affected. You get the point. Now, when that happens, you get pneumonia, right? And then this whole sequel. Here is where you see heart and blood vessels being affected. So it is two ways. One is directly the virus enters into circulation, reaches the target, and other is it is being done through the channel of the ACE receptors and breaking down of the blood vessels. It makes sense? Okay.
Yeah. Sir, one more question. We got to know that the COVID has different strains as seen in different patients. I want to know, how do doctors prescribe medication? Some patients are given just paracetamol, and some are given antibiotics and even some antiviral drugs. Also, how is vitamin C going to work out for this?
Okay. All this Dr. Google will give the answers to you for most of these questions. But one question I'll tell you about the mutants, right? This is the treatment is given to the coronavirus family. So whatever mutants happen, those mutants are much weaker than the parent virus strain. So it doesn't matter about it. And vitamin C boosting immunity, these are all supportive therapies. It is not directly going and killing the virus. It is strengthening your body to fight the disease, which is already inherent ability we all have got. But when you panic due to pandemic news in the TV channels, you succumb to the disease much easily because you are living in fear. You read, most of the religions teach about this. And I'm a Christian, so I can only quote from the Bible, which I know is, he says, Jesus says is, do not fear very frequently. Do not be afraid. The reason is the fear is one thing which is going to affect your health significantly. So when you are, so to protect that immunity, you're taking vitamin C, vitamin D, you take a lot of kashayams, all those things, just to, and that is really not required specifically to be done during COVID days, because by default, your immunity is good enough. If you are to fall sick, it depends upon the infective dose of the virus. This virus, like for example, if one virus particle, for example, for a regular seasonal flu, I need 100 viral particles to cause a disease. Here it requires hardly few of them. So the disease comes in faster. So your immune status is very important. So all the supplemental therapy have been provided. Treatment wise, it doesn't matter. There is no specific treatment for this alone yet come into the market. That's the reason we are able to very easily repurpose the drugs.
Sir, the next question is, sir, do you feel asymptomatic patients are transmitting the virus or not?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are transmitting.
Sir, the next question is, which all factor will decrease immune system?
Which all factors are going to decrease the immune system?
Immune system.
Okay. Which all factors means, so I didn't understand the question well, but okay, I can tell you if it is, if I'm not going to the molecular side, it is, as I mentioned in the previous question already, your fear factors is the major thing. Your TV is going to affect your immune system. In a way, the news, the way the present is, coronavirus, they show it so big, you can catch it like a football and it's going to come and hit your head. This is the kind of news which comes around. Don't follow those things. You'll be good to go. Your immune system, don't worry about your immune system so much. Having a good, healthy lifestyle, doing some exercises, exposing yourselves to sunlight, at least 15 minutes between 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., it is going to be good for your immunity already. You don't need to take extra supplements and everything unless you have crossed certain age and you are into vulnerable population. You will need to take as a precautionary. Otherwise, you and I don't have to worry about it.
Question is, what would be the best topic to do a PhD?
Whatever your heart says. Whatever your heart says. Because it's a PhD topic is not a ready-made topic that you want to pick up. If as I mentioned in my talk, if you want to buy a PhD, you can choose the topic whatever you want and get it, which is unethical, which is never to be done. But if you want to do real research, then you got to be feeling what you want to do research. Nobody can tell you what to do research upon. You need to build a scientific temper first. Then you will know what topic to work on. If I tell you to go and work on this XYZ, it doesn't make sense to you because you have not, there is no manthan, there is no imbibing of this thought process. PhD is, you're expressing your scientific abilities and everything, analytical powers, everything. You need a tool to do it. Nobody can give a topic for you. If anybody tells you, go and do PhD on this topic, And if you go and do, you're just a human machine doing some bench work there. There is no brain involvement.
Sir, can I go for one more question too?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, my mother had tested positive, and then after 21 days of isolation, she tested negative. For her now, she is doing fine, but having recurrent headache. Is there anything related to brain damage?
Well, you need to get it tested, I recommend. I don't say it is damaged or not damaged. I do not know. Because clinically, if a person was infected, okay, till what stage has it gone before the body has responded and taken off the virus from the body? Which all organs have been impacted, that has to be evaluated. So for that, one has to go to the clinics to get it diagnosed.
So one more question. Russia has come up with the vaccine. Do you think it has completed all the researches, and can a vaccine be developed in such a short span?
It is not a short span. They say they started way long ago, right? So they may have found a vaccine, but I am not sure what all has been done because no data is available for you and I to go and evaluate that. So unless we have evaluated the data, we can never conclusively say, yes, it has been done. So unless we see the data, I can't answer that question.
Thanks, sir. The next question is, sir, give us a hope and tell us for how long would it take to prepare a vaccine constructively?
You want hope? I can't give hope. I'm a scientist. I can state facts. Maybe some spiritual gurus can give you hopes. I won't give hopes. I would state facts. A vaccine generally takes in as much time as a drug takes. It is normally anywhere between 10 to 15 years before a vaccine comes to the market. That's how vaccines work. But in this case, where we have pooled in all the resources, we are able to work at this is called like a distributed research. Everybody is doing small parts and bringing together. But the clinical trials, you can't compromise. And there also, there is an advantage because we have more volunteers than required. Everybody wants to volunteer now because they're scared of their life. At least this vaccine, I may survive. Phase 3 trials, I want to participate. Everybody wants to participate. So what happened is patient recruitment has become quite easy. We don't have to go around searching for patients. We get patients quite in good numbers. So we are in a better position. With these developments, I would envision, though everybody is advertising for the vaccines, realistically reaching the, every citizen is going to take at least 6 to 8 months, at least.
So the next question, what would you say about the second and third waves of COVID-19 and what would be the outcome?
Well, I need to ask coronavirus whether it's going to come back again. Because if we build good immune system, if the herd immunity spreads well and if the vaccine is on the roll, then the likelihood of the second wave and third wave are not going to exist anymore, right? So it could be a sister, brother, cousin of coronavirus may come up again.
So the next question, it takes years to develop a vaccine. How is it possible for every country to come up with vaccine within months of the pandemic? How effective would they be when compared to those that comes
I
after
answered that
years
question.
of studies? Yes, sir.
I already answered that question previously.
Yes. There are many people with the same question on this, how effective will be the vaccine, the thing. And one more question have come, sir. The virus stay in body till end of life or not?
End of whose life? Human life? I mean, okay. So I don't think the question refers to human life. It is not like a bacteria which stays in, like, especially for tuberculosis bacillus, right? That can stay in the hilus of our lung for very long years, almost till the end of our life, human life. But viruses, no. They have to be there or not there. It cannot be resident in our body, like especially this virus I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that's all the questions, sir. Thank you for the patience answering and covering all the questions. Thank you, sir. Over to Tanushree.
Thank you, Vidya, and thank you, sir. Vidya, I would like, Dr. Vidya, I would like you to continue with the summarization of the webinar, uh, this topic of the webinar. The summarization of this topic today. Over to you, Vidya, for the summarization.
Thank you, Tanushree. We had a wonderful session with Dr. Manishar. Sir started with introduction. So he gave an introduction on his institute. We got to virtually enter into Acharya Institution through his slides. We could see Acharya, by virtually today. Then Sir started off, what is the impact of this pandemic on the med tech? He said how there is a fall in the MA and how it have even impacted the world's top economy also, including the country. So even though India is not much affected, he then enlightened on the difference between COVID positive and what is positive for COVID. That was the right time, sir clarified it, the difference, and what is the necessity of like going for, and what is the herd immunity he talked about. He touched the practical aspect of expecting and vaccine in a short time. Almost Sir covered this answer in his slides itself. So he enlightened on this also. He talked on the lessons that we learned from the past economic crashes and how we overcame it. And he talked on the comeback of our pharma field, medical field, tech, and the retail industry also. And he again came into the research core. He talked about what is the research thirst that have been improved in the pandemic, how research have got more effective during this pandemic. He emphasized on various organ systems that that have been more got attention during this pharma market time or in the pharma market reactions. And he talked about the impact on the global working style and how the working quality have improved during this pandemic rather than decreasing. He said that 45% of the people spends their time in looking for the research searches, and 43% the collaborating ideas have been improved compared to the prior period of time. Sir talked on the good impact of COVID-19 on the research, and he touched about the less good impact also, like on lab work and wet lab that are more oriented towards the academic people. And he talked about areas of research that is on vaccine, medication, biological warfare, psychiatric field, public health and policy field. He touched all those things, and he touched on what should be the various priorities to do a research and to fix the objectives, and then how this technology can contribute for a good research, and how should we be competitive and innovative in carrying out the research. And then he clearly showed us the India's vision 2035 and UN sustainable goals. So where people, those who wants to pursue the research, can emphasize or can look into this particular elements, which is easy for to get the fund. That was mentioned clearly by Sir. And then Sir talked about Aatma-Nirbhar-Bharat, and very importantly, he said, enough is enough of being to be a employee. You can be an employer and you can be a boss. Very nicely, very short, in a single way, he portrayed us to that. And he talked about the various sources of new ideas. He talked about Birak's opportunity. And the other slide he showed was so interesting, that how the various fields business have improved during this pandemic. Example, the gloves business being the most top was something very new to us to see in this pandemic. He talked on the industry revolution. Sir talked about industry 4.0 and 5.0 also. And then he touched about the various aspects of the modern approach and how we have to be updated, and how can this interdisciplinary researchers can come out with a good effective research. And he talked about the importance of patent and then publications too. That is a And he talked about the 5 sense of scientific tempers also. So overall, sir have covered of what this pandemic, have improved. So seeing all the negativity about COVID-19 all the time, he on the other hand have given us a very great enlighten on what positives can come out during COVID-19 for people like we are in academics. Thank you for such a wonderful session, sir. It was so interesting. Over to Tanushree.
Vidya. It gives me immense pleasure to call upon the convener of this webinar series, Dr. Shobha Rani Hiramat ma'am, to take us through the insights of our long journey of the webinar series. Over to you, Shobha ma'am.
Before I summarize our journey, I would like to congratulate Dr. Manish for the excellent presentation and your patience in handling all the questions. So it was really nice, and we also learned many things through the answers that you provided.
You're welcome.
Coming to the, yeah.
Dr. Shobha, would you mind I have a meeting at 12:30. So I would excuse myself from the webinar.
Yes. Thank you so much for the minute I called you, you readily agreed and you participated. Despite your busy schedule, you spared your valuable time. So thanks a lot from me personally and from the team of Alameen College of Pharmacy.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hoping so. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank
Wish
you,
you all the very
Thank you,
best.
sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Okay. So Dr. Manish had to leave on some urgent work. So now coming to our journey, see, COVID-19 has really affected the academia very badly, as all of us know. And the colleges being closed and teachers being indoors, taking online classes. Online classes are not reaching 100% of the students, and those students who are in the rural areas, those who do not have the internet facilities are also facing some problems. So there is a lot of mental depression also accompanying this COVID-19 pandemic. And then to combat this and to keep up the spirit of learning and to keep up the spirit of sharing of the information, we planned the webinar series from Alameen College of Pharmacy. I think so far we have conducted about 6 topics and from each department. So we wanted to cater to all the branches because this and our theme was, I would like to read out our theme. So we organized we plan to organize a series of webinar lectures on the theme of the importance of holistic and interdisciplinary coordination in pharmacy education to counter the global pandemic. So we wanted to cater to all the branches of pharmacy. So each department took up a topic and the resource persons were kind enough to accept our invitation. And the first lecture was on various mechanistic approaches adopted worldwide for the detection and treatment of COVID-19 outbreaks. It was on 18th July 2020. It was well covered by Dr. R. Vadivelan, professor from JSS College of Pharmacy, Ooty. He explained the pharmacological criteria for the evaluation, detection, and possible treating lines for the COVID-19 virus manifestations. The second lecture was on conventional drug designing versus in silico drug designing for the discovery of COVID-19 medications on 25th July 2020, organized by the Department of Pharmaceutical Chemistry, and it was dealt by Mr. Ashish Shah, Assistant Professor from Sumandeep Vidyapeeth, Vadodara, Gujarat. He explained the various ways of drug discovery in terms of both conventional and in silico approaches. He also gave a detailed information on various tools to be utilized in virtual drug discovery and virus targeting process against COVID-19 virus. The lecture 3 was on immunobooster formulations for COVID-19. It was conducted on 30th July 2020 and organized by the Department of Pharmaceutics. The resource person was Dr. Paranjyoti Kanni, the principal scientist from Bangalore Allergy Center. He gave vital information about the various immune booster formulations available and their usage. He also gave a picture of how to be positive and energetic in this depressing and gloomy times of COVID-19. The lecture 4 was organized by the Department of Quality Assurance, and it was on regulatory affairs during pandemic era on the 8th of August 2020. It was taken by Dr. Harrison, who is the owner of Redemtrix Technologies and Solutions, Bangalore. He threw light on the regulatory pathways of global regulatory authorities, and he explained the various approaches adopted by CDSCO, FDA, and other regulatory agencies for fast track the approval process for COVID-19 medication. Lecture 5, which was yesterday, it was the role of phytopharmaceuticals in COVID-19, organized by the Department of Pharmacognosy, and it was presented by Dr. H.N. Shivaprasad, Director of Prakriti Products Private Limited. He explained about the difference between the Ayurvedic and phytopharmaceutical approach, and then he provided the in detail explanation about the various phytopharmaceutical products which can be used alone or in combination in enhancing the immunity. Then the lecture 6, the last topic, was conducted today by the Department of Pharmacy Practice and by Dr. Manish, which you all just heard, and it was on the COVID-19 and its impact on academic research. And Dr. Manish, who is a director R&D Acharya Group of Institutions, explained in detail about research and the research ideas. And he also emphasized on the how to work on the lines of sustainable goals. And he gave the source of new ideas and also the research cycle. I think from the number of questions that we got, I'm sure that the participants have liked the lecture, and then they have been inspired to ask so many questions. And I'm glad to say that in these journey of 6 lectures, about 30 colleges have participated from all over India, and the overall number of participants is about 1,000. So it's really gladdening, to see so many people actively participating from their houses, and then that shows their enthusiasm in learning about this COVID situation and the various topics related to COVID. So I would like to congratulate my team, that is Dr. Preeti Karwa, who has headed this entire operations of organizing, and the entire whole thing has been managed by Dr. Preeti Karwa and Mr. Rakesh Panda, ably assisted by Tanushri and the other team members. So congratulations to the entire team, organizing team, for successfully handling this. Every week you had to do so many things, and successfully it has gone. So I thank even Mr. Faisal, who has been the behind the scene. He is a computer person. He's behind the scene and has helped in seeing that that YouTube streaming and all is happening. So overall, it's been very successful. I would just, it is not only, it's not the end, I would say, it is a beginning. And we at Al-Amin College of Pharmacy would like to conduct many more such webinar. Maybe next we will plan an international webinar series by inviting some eminent international people. So keep looking at our notice, which will be circulating in the various groups. So with this, once again, I thank one and all who have contributed. I thank all the HODs and the senior professors for coordinating with the resource persons, for bringing the resource persons, for actively participating and making this whole webinar series a lecture. For making this whole webinar series a success, I wanted to say. Because it is not like one day webinar, it's gone for a few weeks. And the same enthusiasm is there. And in fact, the enthusiasm has multiplied. I could see greater the enthusiasm as the days passed. So it's very a happy moment for us at Al-Amin that despite all the odds of this COVID-19, we were able to do something and then contribute to the scientific community through this webinar series. So thank you once again. With this, I think Tanushri can take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful narration of this journey. You have rightfully told that, yes, we have the enthusiasm is not decreased, it is increasing day by day, and we are looking forward to definitely have one more convener series of webinar. Thank you, ma'am. I will now hand over the session to Mrs. Umaima Fareen to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Umaima.
Thank you, Dhanashree ma'am. I would like to thank our honorable speaker, Dr. Manish Paul sir, for gracing this webinar amidst his busy schedule. Thank you, sir, for your interesting and thought-provoking session. I would like to thank our beloved convener for this webinar, Dr. Shobha Rani ma'am, Dean of Pharmacy RGHS, Principal and Head of the Department of Pharmacy Practice, for her support and guidance. I would also like to thank our organizing committee, Dr. Preeti Karwa ma'am, Organizing Chairperson, Mr. Rakesh Panda sir, Organizing Secretary, Mrs. Tanushri Chakraborty ma'am, Chief Coordinator, and Mr. Faisal sir, Technical Coordinator. I would like to extend my vote of thanks to all the fellow coordinator of every department. I would like to thank all the participants. Without you, the event would not have been a great success. Thank you one and all for your cooperation. Lastly, I would like to express my immense gratitude to Dr. Shobha Rani ma'am for giving me the opportunity to propose the vote of thank. Thank you all. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs. Umaima. Participants, kindly fill your feedback form before leaving the meeting. You will be receiving your e-certificates within 5 working days. Before I end, I need to tell you something. To meet and part is the way of life, but to part and meet is the hope of life. So let's keep the hope alive. As our convener ma'am has already said, we will be meeting soon with another series of international webinar. Thank you all for being with us in our journey and supporting and encouraging us in our endeavor. Till then, be safe, be healthy. Thank you all. This is Tanushri taking your leave. Bye from all of us at Alamin College of Pharmacy. Bye and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ramya,